Hey guys, Bob Flounders, joined by David Jones. He's having a late breakfast today. It's Tuesday afternoon. It's time for the Blue-White Breakdown podcast, PennLive's Penn State football podcast. Not a lot going on with the 2022 team. They're undergoing winter conditioning right now. Spring practice is still a little bit away. Their signing day in February is still a couple weeks out. But we can certainly talk about the Penn Staters in the playoffs. What a crazy weekend. We can also talk about, Dave's going to talk a little bit about Penn State basketball. They're finally getting to play some games, I think. Is that true, Dave, or are they not playing games?
Well, they're not a problem now. It was the last game, it was Minnesota that was a problem, and then they did play at Iowa. So, yeah, Lundy's back. Okay. They're at Indiana next tomorrow night. And Indiana just got blitzed, just got destroyed by Michigan of all teams, by 18 points. So I don't know. I mean, you could say that Indiana's out for blood or something, except I just don't think much of Indiana. I think they're kind of Trace Jackson Davis and that team. They don't have any of the stuff that their coach used to have with Bob Knight's teams. Mike Woodson. Those were tough teams who would beat you up. And this kind of these guys, I don't know if they have retribution in their blood, is what I'm telling you. So that could be very ugly tomorrow night. But I just think it's going to be ugly both ways. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I blame all the bad stuff that involved with Minnesota. I just blame it all on PJ Fleck. Whenever something goes wrong, I just debate.
No, actually, we were talking about this. Today is the 50th anniversary of the race riot brawl between Ohio State and Minnesota. Have you ever heard of that?
I have not heard of that.
You haven't heard of it?
No. So this would be 1972?
Yeah,
wow.
In the barn, January 25th, 72, which was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. I was watching it as a 14-year-old on TV in Columbus, Ohio, on WLWC. It was 50-44, and it was the battle between Ron B. Hagan, Corky Taylor, Dave Winfield was on that Minnesota team.
I remember he was a great athlete at Minnesota.
Yeah, and it was a battle royale. It was a showdown for the lead in the Big Ten. Ohio State had come within a smidgen of making the Final Four the year before, but lost to Western Kentucky. So they were the favorites in the league that year. They were playing great. There was like 34 seconds left in the game, and it was pretty apparent Minnesota was going to lose. I can't believe you really haven't heard about this, right?
I have not heard about it. I was just turning the corner. I was 7. I was still focused on Dallas and Roger Staubach at this time.
Okay, well, nothing's happened. It was the cover of Sports Illustrated. Nothing has happened like this before or since in any sporting event. It's at Minnesota, the old barn they still use now. Bill Musselman, Eric Musselman's father, is the Minnesota coach, and he had ratcheted the place up. They had a real frenzied crowd, and things turned really sour when Luke Whitty was fouled, the Ohio State center who went on and had a short career with the Cleveland Cavaliers, fouled hard and knocked to the floor. Minnesota player Corky Taylor extended his hand, pulled him up in what looked like a good sportsmanship offering, and then kneed him in the groin as hard as he could.
A pro wrestling move.
Yeah, well, it was nasty, man. And then all hell broke loose. Ron B. Hagan stomped Whitty on the head, sent him to the hospital. He had a concussion, and people were chasing other people all over the court.
Yikes.
And it definitely had racial implications because most of the Minnesota team was black. Most of the Ohio State team was white. They suspended Corky Taylor and Ron B. Hagan for the rest of the season, but that was it. And the Big Ten has never had an incident like that before or since. It was 50 years ago today. Minnesota has always been kind of the sleazy brother in the Big Ten as far as basketball. You're talking about Jim Dutcher, Clem Haskins, Musselman, removed under shady circumstance. Who was that AD that was, what was he doing that was removed?
Oh, yeah. I think there was some
years ago.
Inappropriate stuff going on
yes,
there.
Yeah. With a secretary or something.
Right.
The whole Tracy Claeys thing when they were out in the bowl game against Washington State. It's been a nonstop Donnybrook with these guys. And who knows about Richard Pitino? He was just removed. He always looked like an oily bastard, didn't he, Richard?
Oh, you got the flamethrower out today, baby. You were 14 years old in Columbus, Ohio.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. And I mean, you could not believe what you were seeing on TV. This was on television.
Okay.
You couldn't believe it. Winfield was chasing a guard around the court, and caught him and threw him into the stands. It was a debacle, man. It was a big deal. And I think about 20 years ago, Luke Whitty became a pastor, and he was visited by, I think, Corky Taylor and Ron B. Hagan, who came to apologize to him after 30 years. And there was a long, I think it was a Sports Illustrated story about that. Mm-hmm. And it was a beautiful story. And Whitty accepted their apology and became friends with these guys who kneed him in the groin and stomped on his head and sent him to the hospital. Thank God nothing like that ever happened again. I really, you can't think of anything that's happened in sports like it before or since. It was 50 years ago tonight. I didn't mean to get into that, but since
I know. Didn't Leitner step on somebody's head once? Maybe not.
Yeah, but that was a love tap compared to this. That was the game.
Leitner, I'm just saying, whenever I get a chance to take a shot at Christian Leitner, I'm going to take it.
Yeah. That was the game. That was the Kentucky game that I was at the Spectrum. The greatest game ever played is what they call it. And that was 30 years ago this spring.
We're getting there, yeah. Dave, speaking of debacles, let's discuss my Super Bowl bet on the Buffalo Bills. That went up in smoke in 13 seconds when I thought I had it in the bag. I'm stunned.
Now let's set the scene. Where were you?
I was at a neighborhood bar not far from my house.
Can we name it or not?
No, there's no need to do that. Right. There's no need to do that.
Who are you with? Friends or by yourself?
Yeah, just friends. And the Bills are struggling to kind of stay in the game the whole time.
Yeah.
I think Kansas City is kind of playing from ahead. It's actually not that great of a game until the final 2:25 or whatever. And then it was just incredible. Like every time you looked up, they were making incredible plays, converting fourth downs, guys making catches that I've never heard of, Gabriel Davis. So I had a bet in before. This is the frustrating part I put the bet in on Saturday, $500 at 5-1 on the Bills. They got to win the Super Bowl. So what happens Saturday? The number one seed, the Tennessee Titans, go down. Saturday night.
Everyone's going down.
All the one seeds set up, buddy. Yeah, it's set up. All the one seeds crap their pants.
Yeah.
So they scored two unlikely touchdowns. There's 13 seconds to go.
And what did you think? What did you think at that moment? Do you remember? Did you think all fans, but especially bettors, are reflexively paranoid about thinking they got it? Did you think you had it?
Yeah. There should never have been. There was not enough time for that to happen if Buffalo just does the right thing.
So are you celebrating? Are you slapping five with people?
It's over.
You're ordering shots or what?
That started way earlier in the day. Dave, you cannot let those guys get a free release off the line of scrimmage.
Now could you hear Tony Romo and Nance at the bar?
Well, you can hear Romo. I could almost hear Romo. He yells so much anymore. You can hear him from like miles away. Like
I mean, after the kickoff, could you hear him say anything?
No, I didn't.
What he said was, and you probably never heard it. I mean, before that, Nance and Romo, it's a fait accompli. I mean, they're acting like you're acting like this. They're talking about it as a win for Buffalo. And then what are you thinking when they kick the ball off and kick it away? I had no problem with that, but as reporters, I try to reflexively think ahead and act and try to replicate what the coaches are thinking and try to make my decision in real time to be fair to them. And I'm thinking, should you kick it away? Should you squib it? Should you pooch it? What should you do? And I thought in my mind, all right, 13 seconds, kick it away. You don't want, I don't think Tyreek Hill was back there, right?
He was not, but they had some other dangerous players. But
yeah,
I just think that 13 seconds is enough for 3 plays max, including the kick. If you kick it deep and you make the tackle, there's enough for 2 plays. And I just think that at some point you got to trust your guys. I don't know. I think that's not what I was mad about. I was just mad about this is a PG related PG podcast.
Well, wait a minute.
There is no way I am letting 87 or Tyreek Hill even get the ball.
But
I am going to slug them off the line of scrimmage.
I'm taking this sequentially. So did you consider what to do with the kickoff in your mind?
Yeah, I thought it was a 50-50 call. I mean, I think the percentages say if you make them return it, Mahomes has less time with the ball.
Yeah, and then he's got 7 seconds or 8.
He can't run the guys on one.
Yeah,
and then with the way the rules are in the NFL, if you hold somebody or you mug somebody or you interfere with somebody, it's a spot foul. So if you just do it off the line of scrimmage, the worst you're going to give up is 5 or 15 yards, and they're giving up seconds. So I just don't know. I do not know why. They didn't mug those guys at the line of scrimmage.
Anyway, you didn't have any problem with the kickoff.
Yeah.
Romo said in real time, right after the kickoff went through the end zone, he goes, this is the first of any doubt that anyone expressed. He goes, I kind of would have preferred that they pooched that in play, line drive it down to the 5 or 10.
Yeah.
But I understand this too. But I kind of would have preferred that because you got Mahomes back there. He said something exactly like that. But then you got to trust a kicker not to kick it. I don't trust kickers. I don't trust kickers to do things that are out of their routine. And this is not something they probably practice it, but it's not something you do all the time, and you might screw it up. It's not like now these guys are 48 yards on a field goal. They're automatic. Yeah. But a pooch kick, they might kick it too short. Yeah. Then all of a sudden Kansas City's starting off at the 40. So you don't want that either.
44 yards in 12 seconds, man. It's tough to take.
Yeah.
And tough to take. Anyway, that was not fun, but Ryan Bates started for the Bills. Chiefs have no one. But even the more phenomenal thing is, did you look up Robbie Gould's numbers? Did you see this?
You're talking about he's 20 for 20 in the playoffs? Yeah.
20 for 20, 32 for 32 with extra points. The most accurate kicker with a minimum number of attempts in NFL history because he has never missed. And he's made some huge kicks.
And do you remember, did we mention this last week or I mentioned it?
How bad a kicker he was at Penn State? Yeah.
Yeah, because I tweeted it out after the game.
I was looking it's hard to find him. Penn State stats don't really go back. It's hard to get his numbers at Penn State.
No, I found him.
Oh, yeah. He was not that great.
No, man. He was 17 of 22 as a sophomore.
That's good.
Which is very good back then.
Yes.
We're talking 2002.
And then he got worse.
The big Zach Mills season when they went 9-4.
Yeah.
And lost to Auburn in the Capital One Bowl. He was 17 of 22, good season. But they've got a team with a functional offense. In 03 and 04 combined, he was 16 of 29 on field goals and missed 3 extra points. So I remember being in an airport with
his dad.
Yeah, do you remember that? We both talked to him, didn't we?
Yeah, you struck up the conversation first, and you're good at getting parents to kind of talk about their kids, good or bad.
Where were we? Illinois
in an honest way.
Where were we? Illinois or I can't remember.
I'm thinking it had to have been 03 or 04.
It was probably Indiana. It was 04. I know for sure it was 04.
Well, they played at Purdue, and they definitely played at Purdue. It
might have been after the at Indiana game that they won.
04. I'm sorry. Yeah, They were at Purdue at 03. They were at Indiana in 04.
Yeah, I'm sure it was 04. And I think it was probably after the last road game where they had the goal line stand and won the game, and then went back and beat Michigan State in a rout and finished 4-7 with that horrific offense. See, that was part of the problem, because I don't think he had everything about that offense and special teams was dysfunctional. They had gone 3-9 and 4-7 during those seasons. And I remember the snaps being bad, the holds not being great. And if that happens to a kicker, all of a sudden he becomes dysfunctional. You have to have routine, and you have to have guys who are regimented and know what they're doing, and everything's the same. That's what is part of a good kicker. And they depend on those guys. So it wasn't all his fault. And yet 16 of 29. So I remember talking to Mr. Gould, and he said, I remember him saying he was unfailingly positive.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying, he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. And he really seemed to believe it. And I remember coming away from that thinking, well, at least his dad believes it.
Dad's still in his corner.
Yeah,
12 for 12 with the Niners, 6 for 6 with the Bears, 2 for 2 with the New York Giants. He's going to be called. He's going to be called on this Sunday in SoFi Stadium. The third meeting between the two teams.
And what did you think of? What did you think of with that 45-yarder? Who were you thinking of?
Well, the guy for the Patriots in the
his mentor Adam Vinatieri. Who helped him. Yeah,
in the Tuck Rule game, also known as the Tuck Rule game, another anniversary,
which I believe was a 47-yarder against the Raiders. Is that right?
Yeah, that was another game.
Heavier snow, but that's what I was thinking, because those were not easy conditions. Yeah. Of course, fields were different back then. Fields were not kept to the fields. Fields didn't have the good base, the sand base they've started using in the last 10 or 15 years. So that field was awful. I don't know. Was that plastic? Was that the old Gillette Stadium? That was the last game in Gillette Stadium.
I think Gillette's. I don't know if Gillette Stadium was. I think they had switched over to grass by then.
But that was the last game in Gillette Stadium, I believe.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about the Tampa Bay Rams game, just because there was a heavy Penn State presence in that game.
Nick Scott and Donovan Smith.
Troy Reeder, who started at Penn State for a year, and then he transferred to Delaware. When they announced his name in the starting lineup, he did not say Penn State. He said Delaware. I thought that was pretty cool. Also, Grant Haley got signed to the team. He was on their special teams as like a coverage guy. He had a couple of tackles. Yeah, but Nick Scott had a great game. I don't know that he starts all the time, but he's like on the field a lot because they're in extra DB sets.
Yeah, and he was for a lot of the season. He was on special teams.
Yeah,
that's all he did. Do you realize how close he was to Mr. Irrelevant? He was like 3 picks from Mr. Irrelevant. He was the 29th pick in the 7th round.
Yeah. Donovan Smith did not have the best.
No, man, that was sad, because he was. Well, what do you do against that?
Von Miller, you got to help him, and even then, I thought they didn't help him enough. But
what a pickup! What a pickup for the Rams, right?
Yeah, 2 second-round picks. Plus, they got to pay him a little bit. But yeah, they're all in on this. They're all in, and it might pay off this year, because I think that I said I liked the Bills last week. They Rams are 3.5-point favorites, even though the Niners won both games. Chiefs are 7 at home against the Joe Burrows, kudos to them, man.
Of whom are they speaking that might beat those Bengals? That's what I'm curious
about. Ryan, when you talk about the guys who kind of really did not have great weekends, Donovan Smith, Ryan Tannehill, way up there with the punt team for the Niners.
I know Joe Herman. I thought of Joe Herman watching in the Ryan Tannehill experience, reliving the Ryan Tannehill experience.
Yeah, that first pass he threw.
What does that tell you, man? I mean, really, the Titans had everything on their side. They physically
destroyed them at scrimmage, man.
They look like the better team in just about every respect, but the Bengals have the better quarterback.
They sure
and
do.
He absorbs 9 sacks on the road, and they win. I mean, because he's just a tough mother, you know what? I mean,
he can only go like this for so long. You know that. They better fix this soon, or they're going to ruin this prodigy.
Oh my! And did you see who's on the right side, the right tackle? It was a famous guy in Penn State lore because they destroyed him in the 2016 game in State College, which was all the Grant Haley, also the Grant Haley will score.
Ohio State had a right tackle. Was
Isaiah Prince. Isaiah Prince was on the left side in that game, and he was getting boat raced the entire game, and JT Barrett couldn't get any peace. Partly because of Isaiah. I can't believe Isaiah Prince is in the league, actually. But that's the Bengals' right tackle. And he just is not capable of playing at that level. The right guard isn't much better. And they have to sink every conceivable resource into free agency and the draft and protecting Joe Burrow. Or you're right, man. I mean, his days are numbered. You can
only take so many of those shots.
Yes. You can't let that happen to him.
Yeah. He's already got a knee that's rebuilt.
I mean, he was like Trace McSorley absorbing this stuff, you know?
I know. I knew the Titans were going to be able to get after him, but I didn't know. But they still, you know, Chase is a great player. Mixon's a great player. Their defense played well, but they have to. I want the head coach, who's a former Nebraska quarterback, not a good one, but he's got to find a way to protect him a little bit better, because it's just not. It's going to be sad if he can't have 2 more years of this. You know what I mean? It has to get addressed. You're right. This offseason.
I'm not certain Zach Taylor's the answer there. I mean, this guy was. I'm doing my Alan Funt again. Here's a guy.
No one got that.
Really dating myself. He was the Cincinnati offensive coordinator under Tommy Tuberville at UC 5 years ago. And
great politician. Tommy Tuberville, great politician. Great.
And and failing. I mean, Sean McVay really resurrected his career. Am I wrong? Isn't that right about it?
That's right.
And all of a sudden he's the head coach. I just don't know, man. I don't know if he's the answer. But they've got to get someone to protect Joe Burrow, or they're just throwing away an incredible chance. And you have a finite window with these guys.
Yeah, I think you got to sit Zach down in a big boy chair and have a talk with him and say, look, this is it right here. This is the guy, no matter what. I don't care about empty sets. I don't care about scoring 38 points. Let's just score 27 points.
Yes.
And then maybe play some better defense.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's going to be, we're going to say goodbye to him after the 2025 season.
Yes. And it's also up to Mike Brown, who is now, I guess, 85 or something.
Yeah, good luck.
The Bengals, the Bengals were my team until I just kind of, I haven't watched, as you know, that much NFL until the last couple of years. I started watching it again because it's become more fun. Am I wrong? I think these have been a couple of pretty good years.
It's become more fun. Baseball, all the joy's gone out of baseball. Yeah, you know what I mean? Other than hockey, basketball, and football, what else is there to watch? Yeah,
but it's a pretty good product right now.
It is.
I think the rule changes have worked. Downfield contact with receivers, no contact with quarterbacks. I mean, what would have happened? What would have happened to a Buffalo Bills quarterback running around, like, say, in the Jim Kelly era, running around like the current Buffalo Bills quarterback did in that game against?
What if he tried it against the 85 Bears? Like, what would happen?
Well, even 30 years ago, 20 years ago, what happens to him if he's running around then? I mean, you couldn't do that. No quarterback would do that back then, right?
That's correct.
And that was because you would have gotten destroyed.
Correct.
You would have gotten destroyed by defenses back then. I mean, there were safeties sitting in the middle of the field in zone coverage, just waiting for somebody to catch the ball over the middle and just destroy him. they would be in concussion protocol, except there was no concussion protocol back then. I mean, the quarterbacks who ran anywhere. I remember Ken Anderson once running across the sideline. He was well out of bounds. And Glenn Edwards just coming up with a forearm, who was a dirty player. You know, I think we talked about this before. There were certain guys who gets the big press among the old Raiders and Steelers. It's Mel Blount, it's George Atkinson, it's Jack Tatum. But then there were second and third bananas who were really even dirtier than those guys. Like, and I'm talking about Glenn Edwards with this. Glenn Edwards.
He almost killed John Gilliam in Super Bowl IX on that.
Yeah,
Glenn. The middle, the ball went like 100 yards in the air. No,
Glenn Edwards with the Steelers. Glenn Edwards with the Steelers and Skip Thomas with the Raiders.
Yeah, Dr.
Those
Death.
Guys.
His nickname was Dr. Death.
They were filthy players, and anything went. I mean, Glenn Edwards wound up. Ken Anderson must have been a yard and a half out of bounds and just wound up with a forearm and hit him right under the neck like this and just knocked him out. Just knocked out. I think he got up and got back in the game like a series later. But you don't know what happened to those guys back then. Terry Bradshaw, didn't he come back in the game after throwing that pass to Swan in Super Bowl 10?
No, he didn't. He did not come back. Hanratty had to finish up. He was in bad shape.
Yeah, he was in bad shape.
Dave, this is the 40-year anniversary of that Bengals 49ers game at Pontiac in
freezer bowl.
Minus 100 degrees. It was the Bengals to me as the game on were the better team, but they fell behind so badly in that goal line stand ruined it for them.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to either today or tomorrow. Their weight training guy back then named Kim Wood, because the Bengals, I just know stuff about the Bengals, and why not write it now? Because you might not ever get a chance. Nothing else is going on but
Steve Kreider, Lehigh University.
Well, this is an opportunity to kind of delve back into that stuff. And the game before that, the Freezer Bowl game
against
the Chargers this last weekend was I guess the Super Bowl was played a lot earlier back then. So, but technically we're talking about the divisional playoff round, and that Freezer Bowl game is as cold as it's ever been in an NFL game. The Ice Bowl in Green Bay with Dallas in 1967 gets all the pub, but actually the Freezer Bowl game with the Bengals Chargers, the AFC Championship, which was 40 years ago, this month, much more intense. It was 9 below with a 30-mile-an-hour wind coming through the portal of Riverfront Stadium. I mean, the plastic was like cement. They would open the doors on the floor level of Riverfront when the Chargers had the ball. So the wind was in their face, and it was pouring when Dan Fouts and Kellen Winslow and those guys, who, mind you, had just gotten done with that epic gaming in Miami where they were playing in 88 degrees and humidity. Now they're in 9 below and a wind chill factor of 39 below in Cincinnati. They're faced with this. James Brooks played so bravely in that game for the Chargers that Paul Brown acquired him the next year, and he was on that the Boomer Esiason teams.
Yeah, he was a really good player.
Yeah, he was a really tough player, really good player. But yeah, I mean, I guess we're a step away from another 49ers Bengals Super Bowl. That would be the third. People in Cincinnati would tell you that the 81 team I believe they were favored against the 49ers because that was the 49ers' first year on the big stage with Bill Walsh, and no one really trusted them. The Bengals had been pretty good for a while. They were favored in that game, but circumstances.
Too many mistakes.
Circumstances conspired. A goal line stand. Danny Bunce. What did he do? I can't remember what he did.
He was like a linebacker. He was like
intercepted
a
linebacker.
I think Archie Reese made a big play for the 49ers in that thing too. But Pete Johnson, how does he not score? The guy was 300 pounds.
Did you know Pete Johnson's name really isn't Pete Johnson?
I think we're going to have to save that for next week. The way that these stories are going, David.
Did you know he was like 20? He was 25 when he was recruited by John Johnson the trainer of Buster Douglas, who was then one of Woody's assistants. He was like 25 years old. Yeah.
Cheaters.
Yeah. How doesn't he score? Indeed. Yeah.
Are you going to root for the Bengals this week?
Of course. I mean, I wrote about it last week.
All right.
That you can't really. I've divorced from them long ago, so you can't act like you're back on the bandwagon. That's a violation.
You're not allowed back on it.
Not allowed back, but I can smile from afar like a father who's left the family, and I can't call up, I can't ask for money, but I can smile from afar and be proud of them. So yeah, I'm definitely rooting for them. Are
they the early game? I think because the West Coast game's late.
That makes sense, but nothing the NFL ever necessarily does.
Who knows? The Bills should be in the game. They
got an algorithm that we don't understand.
All right, Penn State fans, we promise we're going to have more Penn State news the next time Dave and I talk. But hey, look, it's a slow week. We had to talk about the playoffs. The Rams have a ton of Penn State guys in their game, and Robbie Gould, 20 for 20, incredible in the postseason. Will the streak continue? Will he make it to the Super Bowl? Could it be the Niners and the Bengals? How about that for a Super Bowl pairing going into the playoffs? Like the 6th seed and what were the Bengals? The 3rd seed? Yeah, 3 seed.
They won a division. Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as I don't have to relive Joe Montana to John Taylor again, I'll be fine.
All right, buddy.
I'm gonna finish my andouille.
It looks so good. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks, Dave.